All right, welcome back to part 2 of the Q&A video. I am answering your questions that you left for me on Instagram and YouTube. If you are new here, my name is Christine, and I'm a homeschooling mom of 3. I like to share homeschool content and also just mothering, lifestyle, homemaking content here on my channel. So go ahead, subscribe if you would like to. Otherwise, I'm going to just hop in and keep answering your questions. Okay, so picking up basically where I left off. First question is advice for new homeschooling mums. I was thinking about this the other day, and the thing that I see the most often is this pressure to choose what you're going to do because that is what you're going to be tied to for the rest of forever. So I would just say that that's just not true. You can pick and change and do all the things over time. It is not realistic to think that you're going to find a curriculum that suits all of your children and you're going to use that all the way through homeschooling. That may happen in some families, but it's not what I would say is typical. And I think it is totally okay to change. You need to adjust with the needs of your child. And also, when you start homeschooling, you don't know your child and how they learn very well yet. And so you're both going to have to learn together. And so I would just say, whatever you pick now, don't feel like you're tied to it forever. You're not married to it. You can change, and it's okay. Don't feel pressured by other people's opinions. Do what works for you. If you make a mistake, it's okay. You can rectify it. There is room for error and fixing things and changing and evolving. It's absolutely fine. So that would be my advice. How is your homeschool style the same or different to how your parents homeschooled? I've spoken about this a bit before. My style is very similar to what my mom did. Not so much at the beginning. She was more of a traditional homeschooler at the beginning because that's all she knew. We used Abeka, but certainly by the end of my homeschool time, she was much more of a Charlotte Mason / eclectic homeschooler. I'm very much the same in the sense that I like to schedule everything out, but I probably am more eclectic than she was, and I would say I'm more confident, not in the sense that she was lacking, but just because I have the privilege of having been homeschooled and knowing the results it can produce, whereas my mom was going into it blind and not really knowing and having to just trust the process. So I think that's a huge blessing for me. But honestly, we're very, very similar. Still enjoying the good and the beautiful language arts. Almost done with 100 easy lessons for kindergarten and what to do next. Yes, we're enjoying it. So my youngest is doing their preschool at the moment, and we're taking it very, very slowly. At the moment, we've stopped for a moment just so she can reinforce some more things. I have a lot more confidence now to just take things at our own pace than I did when we first started homeschooling. But I do really like their new language arts. I'm really enjoying it. All of my kids are using it. They're currently in preschool and level 1 and level 2. So that's what we're using. Are you still loving Sunlight? We start on Monday. Oh my goodness, I love Sunlight so much. I love it. It's just been such a huge blessing. I feel like it's a curriculum that I've always needed and wanted, and it's just, yeah, it's lovely. How do you organize your school supplies? I don't feel like I put a ton of effort into organizing our school things. I have specific places where the kids put their curriculum. And then I just have our joint stationery and our math manipulatives and this caddy thing. You can see it in my homeschool room tour, which I'll link for you here. Aside from that, it's all really office supplies, and I keep that in the office area. So I don't feel like I do anything too crazy. If I'm trying to be better about getting a storage system for keeping historical thing, just for proof, records. We don't technically have to, but if you were ever audited, you'd want that. And so I've got that. I tend to keep textbooks and things, or at least assessments, that kind of thing. But yeah, I don't put a lot of thought into it. All right. How do you keep on task while doing school? Do you silence your phone? Yes, I do typically silence my phone. I've got an Apple Watch, which I actually really love because the two things I use it for most are checking notifications and also finding my phone because I lose my phone all the time. But I try to set my phone aside, and I have my watch, and so I can just quickly look at that, and if it's something that needs to be addressed, I can step away. Or if I'm getting a phone call, I can see who it's from and whether I need to answer it. And somehow it's just like having a quick look at my wrist is a lot less distracting than having to pick up my phone. I don't know why, but it is. So yeah, I would say that is super helpful. Okay, discipline, trying to break cycles over here. All I know is what not to do. Any help? I'm assuming you're talking about kids and discipline. I don't know. It's not specific, or if it's like discipline for yourself. A lot of people ask me, like, I get this question quite a lot. How do you stay consistent with homeschool? If we're talking about that, you just do it. You just have to do it. You have to. It's really simple. You just have to do it. It's not like rocket science. There's no trick to it. You just have to be disciplined. It's self-control and doing the hard things, even though they don't feel great all the time. So if it comes to that, just do it. Make a chart, tick it off, whatever motivates you, but you need to just do it. Discipline for kids, it's really hard. It's I think the biggest thing is consistency and follow through. So if you say something, you need to do it. I'm far from perfect in this area. And there are going to be some times that are way harder than others. There have been many times when I have text my mom oh my word, we are never going to get through this. What has happened to my child? They're not who they once were. Like just things like that. And it always turns out to be a season. And in those seasons where you feel like you're getting nowhere with your children, you have to trust that your consistency and firm love is going to pay off. And honestly, I can say that it does. And I can see that in my children. For me, I don't ascribe to gentle parenting. I don't agree with it, but I also don't ascribe to authoritarian parenting. That's not an easy word to say clearly. I feel like there's a happy balance that can be had. I don't believe my children are very wise creatures. I think they have the potential to be that, but they're certainly not there yet, and that I believe that God has given them to me, and it is my responsibility to guide them toward Him and with firm love. So I would say that personally, discipline in our home looks like consequences for poor behavior, but also a lot of talking. So I'd never ever just throw out punishments without discussing the things that are going on. And just acknowledging when there are other things like disruptions and maybe overtiredness or sickness or whatever, there's always grace for those moments. So I don't know how to speak to it directly because I don't know exactly what you're dealing with, but for me, that is how it looks like. And for me, it's like looking to the Bible and how God disciplines His children. He's never pushing them away. He's always got His arms wide open, ready to make things right as soon as we're ready to come to Him. And so we cannot control our children in the sense that we cannot control their hearts. That's something they have to do for themselves. And my job is to point them towards Christ. And so, we do a lot of scripture memory, do a lot of family discussions. So they know what is right and wrong. And it's just that we're all imperfect human beings. So, yeah, I hope that's helpful in some way. But yeah. Okay, what curriculum is your favorite? That's hard. That's like asking me to pick a favorite kid. I don't know. Probably Sunlight. If I had to pick out of all of them, Sunlight, because I just love the literature. I love reading and I love books, and that's my favorite thing. What are some things that your mother likes or dislikes about homeschooling today? I should ask her these questions, forward them to her. She won't come on my channel. I have asked. So, sorry, guys. I don't know that she's sitting. I think she dislikes that there's comparison. There never used to be that when we were being homeschooled. But she loves the resources that are available and that there's more community. So, yeah, I think that, from the discussions I've had with her, that's what I would say. Do you and your siblings play sports, and do you intend to put your children into sports? Or did you and your siblings play sports? My brother did. He played a lot of sport. He played soccer and cricket and rugby, I don't think he played anything else. I did not do sports, but I did dance, and I loved that. I really, really loved it. My sisters did like horse riding. I don't think they ever did any sports. I'm trying to think what else I might have done. Horse riding. I think everything else was like, I did drama, and one of my sisters did singing lessons. I taught them piano, that kind of thing. I am not against my kids doing sports, but I don't think we're going to be going the traditional route with sports, because a lot of the sports here in New Zealand are played on a Sunday, and that going to church is something that we feel really strongly about, and so we would never skip church to go to a game. And so to me, it's kind of pointless then signing up my kids for something like that. But they're involved in other things, like other physical things. Like right now, my son does gymnastics. Potentially, I may have him do taekwondo, because that's local and has some good reviews. And my girls do ballet. So they're all doing physical things, but they're not necessarily traditional sports in the way that you would think about it, like, soccer and yada, yada, yada. And also, I have no desire to be going to practices however many times a week. It's just not the lifestyle that I would prefer for our family. Have you ever tried Right Start Math? No, I haven't. I've heard good things about it, but I have never tried that. Starting a new grade level in August. Can you explain more? I'm pushing to get done in time. This sometimes comes from people watching my content on Instagram and not having context for where we live. So I'm not in the Northern Hemisphere, so we don't follow the same year as those of you in the US and the UK, and I'm sure a lot of European countries as well. But so we just started grade 3 Math with Confidence this week. So we're not following the same school year. And also, I would just encourage you that it doesn't matter what time of year you start. Like, just follow the book and your child's pace. If you don't finish the book in a year, it's okay. Like, trying to cram it and get them to learn these concepts when they're really not ready for it is not going to do anyone any good. It just makes you frustrated and makes your child struggle as well, because they're just not learning. And then you have to redo it all again the next year because the concepts weren't really learned. So that's my tip on that. Okay, what else? How do you ship to New Zealand and avoid import fees? I don't know this, because when I got my Sunlight stuff last year, I thought for sure I would be hit with fees, because it was well over 1,000 New Zealand dollars, and they didn't. I don't know why, but they didn't. So I can't give you an answer. I was just like, thank you, Lord, because that would have added to the bill a lot. Current daily school schedule. Currently, it's actually the same as last year. So, or earlier this year. I haven't changed anything. So we start over breakfast, where we do read alouds and Bible time and scripture memory and poetry. And then after breakfast, everyone sort of finishes up, does their chores. And then I do preschool with my littlest, and the 2 big kids do some independent work. And then we come together and do history, science, and morning virtues. And then we break for morning tea, and then I get the big ones to come back, and we do language arts and math. And we're usually wrapped up by 12:30 at the latest. And then 3 days a week we have extracurricular activities. Okay, what time do you usually go to bed, and what time do the kids go to bed? My younger 2 typically are in bed between 7 and 7:30. And my eldest is in bed no later than 8. So usually it's supposed to be 7:45 during school time, and then holidays he's allowed up till 8. I go to bed when I'm teaching. When we're doing school and I'm getting up early in the morning, it just depends. Anywhere between 10 and 11. I don't really ever I never go to sleep before 10. And I very rarely go to sleep after 11. So I would say between 10 and 11. All right. Do you have any advice on bedtime routines for kiddos? I feel like ours takes so long from, all right, let's get ready for bed, to them actually being in bed is like an hour. I'm ready for bed after getting them to bed. Also, what are some of your hobbies or things you enjoy just for you? Okay. So bedtime routines, I have never been somebody who does long drawn out bedtime routines. And I think that's because I'm so not a nighttime person. I am done. After like 4 p.m., I'm tired and the day just starts like winding down. So for us, like honestly, the kids, usually I make sure like everyone's had their bath or shower or whatever well ahead of time. But I would say like from the time I say, okay, it's time for bed, to them being in bed and lights out is like 15 minutes, as long as we're like onto it. And I just think that's just like consistency and expectations. It depends what you're trying to do in that time. Like that doesn't include bath time. That's like brushing your teeth, brushing your hair, using the bathroom, getting a drink of water, and being tucked in. Like that's it. I don't do books at bedtime because we do lots of reading during the day. Yeah, so I would just say consistency, and maybe cut out stuff if you don't feel like it's important. Also, my kids can like get themselves in their own pajamas and stuff like that. They're old enough to do that. As for hobbies, I have so many hobbies. I love home decor. I like crocheting. I just like a lot of creative stuff. So painting, drawing, like anything you can think of that's creative. I really, really like doing all that kind of thing, that kind of stuff, that kind of thing. Oh, I don't know. All right, how is Sunlight going? Do you plan on using it the following school years? I mentioned this earlier. I love Sunlight. I'm really enjoying it. And yes, I do plan on using it going forward. Which part of New Zealand are you in? I'm from Auckland. Hello. Also, as someone else has asked, how do you juggle housework and homeschooling? I'm in the Bay of Plenty. I've grown up in this area. And how do I juggle housework and homeschooling? I just want to say, like, someone asked this, like, how do you do work? How do you do homeschooling? I don't juggle it all I don't do it all all at the same time. There's always something that's being neglected. Like, when we were moving house, like, I was dealing with the house stuff. The house was very clean because it had to be, and we were homeschooling. But I was not working on my business, like, barely at all. At the moment, I'm doing a lot of house projects. I'm working a lot more. We're homeschooling, and so my house kind of looks like a tit because I've got bits of furniture everywhere. So I would just say there's seasons to everything. Having consistency and a routine really helps. And just being disciplined, which I know sounds kind of like conceited when you say it like that. Like, I'm just disciplined, but it really does come down to that. Like, you just have to do the thing. How do you manage getting enough alone time while also homeschooling? Rest time for my kids, making sure they have consistent bedtime routines. When I feel like I need a break, I make sure we have a break. I send them out to play. Like, I literally, like, Mum needs a break, go play in the backyard. And I don't feel bad about that at all. Okay. Someone else was asking about managing everything. How do you study the Bible, your devotional time? Honestly, this year it's been very simple because things have been crazy. I've just been reading a Psalm every day and a Proverbs every day, and I've really enjoyed that. Last year I read through the whole Bible. I loved that. I do have a Bible study from my pastor that I got from him like 2-3 months ago, and I just haven't even been able to start on it. So I'm going to start soon. It's quite a deep study. But I don't do anything fancy. I just read the Bible. So yeah, that's my answer. I actually think I'm going to read through again next year because I just really enjoy doing that. So that's my plan for now. What strategies or ideas have worked for you with regards to keeping your youngest occupied / entertained during school time for your older two? Congratulations on your new home. Thank you very much. This is... Like, for my youngest, I want to say when she was a toddler, it felt impossible. It was so hard to get school done. But we got there in the end, and we just had to muddle through. Sometimes I had to wait till she was napping because it was just really hard. I used the iPad with educational games on it whenever I had to. I did buy special toys that were only taken out during homeschool time. That helped. Things like Play-Doh, like sensory manipulative things, were really great. I always found my older kids got distracted by them though, so there's that too. So those are some of the things that worked. Right now, she's kind of an age where she is happy to go off and play on her own because I try to do school with her first, and so she feels like filled up and she's had her attention, and then she'll like happily go play. Okay, there are still quite a few questions. All right, I think we'll get there. Okay, I'd love to learn more about your family. How many siblings do you have? What are your parents like? How did you meet your husband? Okay, so my family is from South Africa originally. My parents immigrated here when I was 5 years old. I'm the eldest child. Then is my brother, who was 2 when we came over here to New Zealand. So there's 2.5 years between he and I. And then there's a bit of a gap between my sisters. So there's 7 years between me and my next sister. And then there's 8 years between me and my sister after that. So there's 4 of us all together, 3 girls, 1 boy. we all live in very close proximity to each other now, which is a real blessing. And so my parents are fantastic. They're amazing. My mom is very much like me. Like, we're really similar as far as personalities go. My dad is... I do have some aspects like of my dad's personality, but I would say I'm more like my mum in personality. I do tend to internalize that, like I think about things for a long time and then I'll just do them, and it can look really sudden to people, but I've actually been thinking about it for a long time, and my dad's exactly like that. So there's that, but he's also very reserved, and he's excellent at making small talk, and I'm not that person. So they're amazing. They've had an amazing marriage. They raised us really well. They're very hard workers and very kind and caring people. And then my siblings, my brother is married, and he has 4 kids, and he has their 5th is on the way. So he is the one who had triplets a couple years ago now. Almost a couple years ago now. Their birthday's coming out really soon. So I did talk about that here on my channel. And they're just adorable. They're so cute. And Amber is such an amazing mum to them. She's just an amazing mother. So she's pregnant with their 5th daughter, which is just crazy because my brother grew up with 3 sisters, and now he's going to have 5 daughters. So he's a very masculine man, and he's got a lot of femininity all around him, and he's an awesome father to his kids. So we still get on really, really well, and I love them both very much. My next sister, Sarah, is expecting her first baby very, very soon, and I'm thrilled for her. So her and her husband are building their first home, and yeah, I'm just over the moon for her. We just had her baby shower the other day, and it was lots of fun, and it's very exciting to see her becoming a mum for the first time. And then my youngest sister is pregnant with her 3rd baby. Her husband is actually my husband's cousin, so it gets kind of weird. There's actually nothing really weird about it, but it just sounds weird, and it's because my kids are both 1st and 2nd cousins with their cousins, so it's kind of odd. So she married my husband's cousin, and it's on his mum's side, and she's just got the most adorable boys. She doesn't know what her 3rd baby is yet, but hopefully we'll find out very soon. And she and I are, all of my siblings, I feel like, have quite different personalities, but me and my youngest sister probably have a lot of, like, the most similarities, but even she is quite different from me in a lot of ways. So that's a bit about me and my siblings. And my 2 sisters were born here in New Zealand, whereas my brother and I were born in South Africa. And then how I met my husband, I don't know if I've shared this on my channel before, probably a while ago. We met at a church family camp. His family came along one year, and he was a web designer at the time, and I was running the church website, and I needed help with it, and our pastor's wife kind of set us up because she recommended him and got us in contact. And then he apparently took weeks to fix something that he could have fixed like really quickly, but he wanted to talk to me. So the rest was history. We got talking, and then I was a student nurse at the time, and I ended up having one of my practicums in the town he lived in, and so we went on a few dates, and we were married like 2 years later. So yeah, it was great. Okay, biggest tip for moving with 3 kids. I'm about to do it in a couple months. I actually have a video coming out on this very soon, so stay tuned for that. Decor ideas, if you have any for your new home. I'm so happy for you. You need that space with the kids and homeschooling. Thank you very much. It's very kind. I have so many ideas for every room that I walk into. I'm just like, I cannot wait. I'm going to have to wait because financially we can't just go in and, decorate every room. But I like cozy cottage, sort of like academia decor, but I really like the contrast of light and moody. So expect like bright whites, but also dark moody colors, I would say. And I love old furniture. I like eclectic. I like things to be lived in. I don't like modern decor, like at all. I can appreciate it in someone else's home, but it's just not my personal taste. All right, what is your minimum viable day? What constitutes a successful day for you on the days when you cannot get it all done? This is a really good question. are we relating it to just school? If it's just school, I would say language arts and math, because everything else I feel like we can quickly catch up on. It's easy enough. And just good attitudes. Like, that's really what I want at the end of the day. If it's general, like home, like a successful day in general, getting dinner on the table and getting a load of washing done, honestly, is like really good. That's what makes me feel like I've accomplished something in the day, because I don't like cooking, and having laundry done is great. Last question, guys. My goodness, we got to the end. What is your favorite thing about your new house? Also, will you have a room set aside for homeschooling or utilize your family room? So I don't think my video had come out when I asked for you guys to leave these questions. You'll see that our homeschool room is part of our living area, but we do have 2 separate lounges. So it's both. It is the sitting room. I didn't want any TVs in there. It's the quiet space. And so that is how our homeschool room is set up. I would say my favorite thing about the house is the layout. It just makes so much sense. It's just logical, and just that there's a space for everything and for everyone. Like, I have my space, my kids have their space, and my husband has his space, and then we have space for entertaining people, and that's just like, I just feel rich because of that. So, yeah, those are my favorite things. So we got there in the end, guys. It was a lot of questions. Thank you so much for sending them all in. I really enjoyed answering them for you. So if you have any more, leave them in the comments, and I'll get to them at some point. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
What if the world had more of your smile? What if the wind could spread your love? What if your sweetness could reach everyone? There'd be no war.